follow. We're all getting old, Len, so I'm going to put on my readers. I was Bella, way back 30 years ago, to Len. And I just met Lauren today and haven't talked to Jim in many, many years, but the theme runs through all of what we're saying. The American naturalist Donald Petey once wrote, "Every human being looks to the birds. They suit the fancy of us all. What they feel, they can voice as we try to. They court and nest, they battle with the elements. They are torn by two opposing impulses, a love of home and a passion for far places. Only with birds do we share so much emotion. Just as the birds do, Len and Susie live life in capital letters." How do I put into words what he's meant to me? It was a very hot summer in 1983 when I was working for the Youth Conservation Corps at the Great Swamp National Wildlife Refuge. And they sent over the YCCers to spend a day volunteering at a place called the Raptor Trust. I was tasked with repainting a flight cage for great horned owls readying to be released. That day I fell in love with owls and with Len. No single person has affected my life as Len has. Len's inspiration set me on my life's journey. He gave me my wings to soar. Because of Len, I've personally educated close to 400,000 youth and adults about the importance of birds since fledging from the Raptor Trust. Len inspired me to start my own rehab and education organization in Montana, and I now continue that mission today as Education Director for Houston Audubon in Houston, Texas. Thanks to Len, I have traveled tens of thousands of miles with my raptors and had the opportunity to give presentations side by side with folks like Jim Fowler from Wild Kingdom. I've stood on the stage to present at the largest church in America, Joel Osteen's Lakewood in Houston. I've sat bedside to fulfill the dying wish of a child in the last stages of cancer who just needed to see the birds one last time. I've seen the birds bring smiles to the faces of seniors with advanced stages of dementia. Taught inner city youth to identify and appreciate the amazing birds and nature they see in their parks every day. We now have the opportunity to broadcast programs live from my nature center in Houston to students across the US, Canada, and Mexico. Thank you, Len. In Southeast Texas, I'm known as the Owl Lady, accompanied by the same great horned owl and the red-tailed hawk these last 24 years, along with other falcons, hawks, and owls. I'm often asked how I got my start, and I always say it started with a paintbrush, an owl, and Len Susie. Several times every year, I share the story of Pale Male, and Jim alluded to that with Marie Wynn's book. How many of you are familiar with Pale Male? I'm sure, yay. I love sharing the original documentary with young and old audiences in Houston, and I always tear up a bit when Len is on the big screen. And then I chuckle when he says, "That's an idiot redtail." And I think to myself, yep, that's Len. He always said it like it was, and he meant what he said. Back in 1989, I was terrified when Len told me I would need to start giving educational programs if I wanted a full-time job at the Trust. I will never forget my very first program was for an audience of one, Len. I was scared to death. Len was the best teacher. He was a father to me, a friend, and the person I most looked up to. If I could speak for the birds, they would say that thanks is not enough for all he's done. They would scream from the top of the Kittatinny Ridge as they soar across the updrafts. They would sing from the deepest, darkest depths of the Great Swamp. They would call out as they crossed the Gulf on their migration, all in unity of gratefulness to the one who made their lives possible and gave them a chance when all hope seemed lost. Equally as important, your mission in life gives people hope. In a sometimes dark world, you showed thousands that caring is okay. Caring for birds can not only help the birds, but it stirs something deep inside all of us. It heals us too. You have taught us well. You have healed our birds. You've nourished us, and it's up to us now to carry that message forward. You showed me, Len, how to make the ordinary extraordinary. Every time I place one of my homing pigeons in the hand of a child and see their smile, I think of you. Every child, every adult that ever stopped and took the time to rescue a helpless bird and find their way to you in the trust, well, you made them know that it was worth it, whether or not their feathered friend would make it back up into the sky. You would always try your best. I hope you're proud because I know my life is richer, deeper, and forever changed for knowing you. I still try to not get sand in the mechanism. I never microwave a frozen mouse. I only did that once. And the frozen rats get a day off every now and then, just like the old days of the trust. Some Native Americans believe that you need to place the feathers of an owl in the hands of someone who has died to signal the owls to take their soul to the afterlife. I believe the owls were ready and waiting to escort you, Len. Since you're all familiar with the story of Pale Male, you remember the wonderful Charles Kennedy, the poet and naturalist of Central Park, who is really the heart and soul of the Pale Male story. He deeply admired Len and his work. He felt a kindred spirit with Len. And over the last few years, I've become a good friend of his nephew, Steve Kennedy, who published all of Charles's poetry after his death. And after I heard about Len's passing, I immediately called Steve and I said, if Charles were still here and still alive and stood on this stage at the memorial, what haiku would he read for Len? And without hesitation, Steve sent this haiku from Charles for Len. Running to chase the shadow of the hawk. Keep soaring, Len. You will soar in my heart always.